Giovanni Gentile was a prominent Italian philosopher. He was born in 1875 and lived until 1944. Gentile is best known for his philosophical system called actualism. He was a key figure in the idealist movement. Idealism emphasizes the role of the mind in shaping reality. Gentile's work had a significant impact on 20th century thought. He was a prolific writer and a charismatic teacher. His ideas influenced various fields, including philosophy, education, and politics. Gentile's life was not without controversy. He became closely associated with Benito Mussolini's fascist regime in Italy. Gentile served as Minister of Education from 1922 to 1924. He implemented educational reforms that reflected his philosophical views. Gentile's involvement with fascism continues to be a subject of debate. Some argue that his philosophy provided an intellectual framework for totalitarianism. Others maintain that his political commitments should not overshadow his philosophical contributions. Actualism, as developed by Gentile, is a form of idealism. It asserts that reality is ultimately spiritual. It emphasizes the active role of the mind in shaping our understanding of the world. At the heart of actualism lies the concept of pure act. This refers to the act of thinking itself. Gentile argued that thinking is not merely a passive reflection of an external reality. Instead, it is a dynamic process that creates our very experience of the world. For Gentile, there is no separation between the act of thinking and the object of thought. The two are inseparable and co-constituted in the moment of experience. This means that reality is not something external to us. It is constantly being created and recreated through our thinking. Gentile rejected the idea of a pre-existing objective reality. He believed that reality is fluid, dynamic, and always in the process of becoming. Our thoughts, therefore, are not representations of a fixed reality. They are the very building blocks of our ever-evolving experience. In Gentile's actualism, the self, or the I, plays a central role. Gentile identifies the I with the pure act of thinking. This means that our very existence as conscious beings is synonymous with the act of thinking itself. The I is not a static entity. It is a dynamic process of self-creation. Every thought, every experience contributes to the ongoing development of the self. The I is constantly becoming. It is never fixed or complete. Gentile distinguishes between the empirical I and the transcendental I. The empirical I refers to our individual personal experiences. The transcendental I represents the universal and absolute act of thinking that underlies all individual consciousness. The relationship between the individual and the universal is crucial in Gentile's thought. He believed that the individual I participates in the transcendental I. Through this participation, individuals contribute to the unfolding of the universal spirit. Gentile's actualism has profound implications for our understanding of history. He viewed history not as a linear sequence of events, but as the ongoing unfolding of the spirit. The spirit, in Gentile's philosophy, represents the totality of thought and experience. It is the collective consciousness of humanity throughout time. History, therefore, is the process by which the spirit realizes itself. It does this through the actions and thoughts of individuals. Each historical moment, according to Gentile, is a unique and unrepeatable expression of the spirit. There is no predetermined plan or direction to history. It is a dynamic and creative process shaped by the choices and actions of individuals. Gentile's view of history is inherently optimistic. He believed that the spirit is constantly striving towards greater self-awareness. This occurs through the struggles and triumphs of humanity. History, for Gentile, is a testament to the creative power of the human spirit. Section 5. The ethical state Gentile's controversial vision. Gentile's actualism had a significant impact on his political views. He believed that the state should not be seen as a separate entity from the individuals it comprises. Instead, he envisioned an ethical state In this state, individuals recognize their shared identity. They see themselves as part of a larger spiritual unity. In Gentile's view, the ethical state is not imposed from above. It arises organically from the shared values and aspirations of its citizens. He emphasized the importance of education in cultivating a sense of national unity and civic virtue. Gentile's political philosophy proved highly controversial. His association with Italian fascism led many to criticize his ideas. Critics argued that his concept of the ethical state could easily be used to justify authoritarianism and the suppression of individual rights. Gentile's defenders, however, maintained that his political thought was far more nuanced than his critics acknowledged. They argue that he was a complex thinker who genuinely believed in the importance of individual freedom and self-realization. They also point out that Gentile became disillusioned with fascism in its later years. Section 6. Education for the Spirit, Shaping Minds and Society. Gentile's philosophy of actualism had a profound impact on his views on education. He served as Minister of Education under Mussolini's fascist regime. During his tenure, he implemented significant educational reforms that reflected his philosophical principles. Gentile believed that education should not be limited to the transmission of knowledge. He thought it should aim to cultivate the whole person. He emphasized the importance of the humanities, philosophy, and the arts. He believed these subjects fostered critical thinking, creativity, and moral development. One of Gentile's most significant reforms was the introduction of religious instruction in public schools. He believed that religion played an essential role in shaping moral character. He saw it as vital to national unity. This move proved highly controversial, as it alienated secular segments of Italian society. Gentile's educational reforms were met with mixed reactions. His supporters praised his emphasis on the humanities and his efforts to promote a more holistic approach to education. Critics argued that his reforms were overly idealistic. They also said they failed to address the practical needs of a modern society. Section 7. A Legacy of Debate. Critiques and Controversies. Giovanni Gentile's philosophy of actualism has been the subject of much debate and controversy since its inception. Critics have raised various objections to his ideas, focusing on his concept of the pure act, his view of history, and his political philosophy. One of the main criticisms leveled against Gentile's actualism is its perceived subjectivism. Critics argue that by grounding reality in the act of thinking, Gentile undermines the objectivity of the world. They contend that his philosophy leads to a form of solipsism. In this, only one's own mind is sure to exist. Another criticism focuses on Gentile's concept of history as the unfolding of the spirit. Critics argue that this view is teleological. This means that it assumes a predetermined end or goal towards which history is progressing. They contend that this view is not supported by historical evidence, and they say it can be used to justify totalitarian ideologies. Gentile's political philosophy, particularly his association with Italian fascism, has also drawn significant criticism. Critics argue that his concept of the ethical state provided an intellectual justification for authoritarianism. They point to his educational reforms as evidence of his attempts to indoctrinate Italian youth with fascist ideology. Section 8. Echoes of Actualism, Gentile's Enduring Influence. Despite the controversies surrounding his life and work, Giovanni Gentile remains a significant figure in the history of philosophy. His philosophy of actualism, though often criticized, has had a lasting impact on various fields, including education, political thought, and aesthetics. Gentile's emphasis on the active role of the mind in shaping reality continues to resonate with contemporary philosophers. His ideas have influenced discussions on consciousness, subjectivity, and the nature of experience. Gentile's work in education, particularly his emphasis on the humanities and his holistic approach to learning, continues to be relevant today. His ideas have influenced pedagogical approaches that prioritize critical thinking, creativity, and personal growth. Gentile's political thought, though deeply problematic in its association with fascism, has also sparked ongoing debates about the relationship between the individual and the state, the role of education in shaping citizens, and the nature of political legitimacy. Section 9. Conclusion. A complex legacy. Giovanni Gentile's legacy is a complex one. He was a brilliant and influential philosopher whose ideas left a lasting mark on 20th century thought. However, his association with Italian fascism continues to cast a shadow over his work, making it difficult to separate his philosophical contributions from his political commitments. Gentile's philosophy of actualism, with its emphasis on the act of thinking as the foundation of reality, offers a unique and challenging perspective on the nature of the self, the world, and history. While his ideas have been criticized for their perceived subjectivism and potential to justify authoritarianism, they have also inspired generations of thinkers to grapple with fundamental questions about consciousness, experience, and the human condition. Ultimately, Gentile's enduring legacy lies in the ongoing debates and discussions that his work continues to provoke. His philosophy, though flawed and controversial, serves as a reminder of the power and the perils of ideas in shaping our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.